a Confederate museum full of hatred and foolishness has fallen. In Fort Branch, North Carolina, Confederate Earthworks Museum, baby, they took a tumble. They were building this museum of hate and racism and just grossness. And God said, not so fast. A tree knocked down the entire museum. It's a complete and total loss. They did not have insurance. They cannot pass go or collect $200. Okay? Look at God. I love that. I love that. You know, I really do. You can never win when you play dirty. But God is able. Like, share, comment below. Follow the page.
Yo, Black Americans, our ancestors are moving. There's a Confederate museum called Fort Branch. The Fort Branch Museum that had a tree fall on it. You look at what happened with freaking Nottoway with that fire, and now this. Do you know what our ancestors were called? The black descendants of American slaves? We were called root workers. We were known to make the earth move. We could speak things into existence. Do you really think this is a coincidence? Because I don't think it is a coincidence when a tree, which is, we are known to be root workers. We are known to work with the roots. We are known to make the roots obey us, crushes a Confederate museum. That is our ancestors saying, oh, y'all want to start some mess, white supremacists with our freaking descendants? All right, bet. And now the official account for the historical Fort Branch is saying it is a total loss. White supremacy is taking L's left and right, baby. Shout out to the ancestors for making the earth move.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys are doing amazing. Thank you so much for clicking on this episode. I really do appreciate your love and support on this channel. So Fort Branch Museum, a Confederate museum, was demolished after a massive tree hit through the building and they lost everything, and this place was not insured. So they didn't say this because this happened last month, because, you know, they wanted to have enough time to move all the artifacts that they have there. And if you don't know about the history of this museum, you have to stick around and hear what people, or get to see what you learn from this. So I have gathered a few videos of Black Americans that have reacted on this video. And it's actually after this that I got to learn about the history of this place, that I'll give you more at the end of these videos. So I want us to watch these clips that I've gathered for you guys together. Every clip and every stitch that you'll be seeing on our today's episode, credits belongs to the original creators of these videos that you're seeing on your screens. If you're coming across this channel for the first time, my good name is Gracie D. Kindly consider subscribing to this channel, give this video a like, and let me know what your thoughts are on the comment section. Especially if you're a Black American, I would really want to know what your thoughts or what's your take on this, because most people, like when the Nottoway plantation was, you know, burnt down to ashes, burnt down to the ground, most Black Americans were like, you know, yes, we are celebrating that it got burnt, but you know, there's some piece of history now that we've lost. Same as to what people are saying with this. Some people are like, you know, that is history lost, that history will never learn. But let's hear what they have to say, and also want to hear what your take on this. So let's just dive right ahead and we'll come back with more commentary.
To all people out there who believe in the supernatural, let me tell you what's happening in this country. Our ancestors are causing in Black America. Let me offer you some proof. All the major elements have been hit. The fire at Nottoway, that's fire. The white man who was found in Lake Lanier, that's water. The tree falling on the Confederate Museum, that's earth. The tornadoes that's been blowing down mostly non-black areas, that's wind. The lightning that just struck the police vehicle in Oklahoma, that's lightning. That's all the elements. I've had visions, and let me tell you, it's gonna get 10 times worse. Our ancestors are on a spiritual fucking rampage right now. I don't know if you've noticed, but you may want to turn on your TV. Because the next time it actually comes around, it's going to be 10 times worse. They are demanding we be treated correctly and given reparations for what we've been through. Just saying.
Listen here. I keep telling y'all the ancestors ain't playing. A Confederate museum called Fort Branch Museum in North Carolina has been demolished by a tree, where they lynched us. What you know about that? Destroyed. Uh-huh. So Nottoway is gone. And now this mother is gone. It's a great day to be. It's a great day to be. This is a spiritual war. Bump the religious stuff. This is a spiritual war. I believe that everything that's been taken is coming back. And in order for that to happen, things got to shut down. It got to shut down so we can gain back. That's how I feel. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. But that's how I feel. And they're asking for donations to rebuild. And I'm going to say it again. Like I said in the last video. Workers, get to work. No. No. No.
Y'all thought the Nottoway plantation fire was the end of the message. But baby, God said, I ain't done yet, because just this week, a whole tree, a big one, done fell on the Fort Branch Confederate Museum down in North Carolina. And guess what? No insurance, no backup plan, no divine coverage, just wreckage. And while they out there crying and asking for donations, the rest of us looking up like, keep working, Lord. Because this is what happens when you build monuments on the backs of broken people. This is what happens when you preserve hate and call it heritage. This is what happens when you ignore the cries of justice and dare to put up a flag for oppression. God said it in the Word. You won't even have to fight. I'll fight for you. And baby, he's swinging heavy right now. Plantations, museums, gone with the wind and a holy vengeance. So if you're still out here holding on to Confederate flags, lying to your children about Southern pride, just know God's outside, and he brought the weather. Let this be a word to every system, every building, every bitter root still standing on stolen land. God is busy, and we are not in the way. Message delivered. Mama Solange, Divine.
What does DJ Collins say? Another one. So y'all, this one has been like swept underneath the carpet, but probably because it's not our local news, but I just dug up something. Another building has been destroyed. On April 12th, 2025, before the Nottoway plantation was burnt to the ground, okay? The Fort Branch Confederate Museum in North Carolina was destroyed. Not by protest, not by fire. This time, Mother Nature used a tree. And I know you're like, a tree? Well, no. It was a massive tree. Crashed down during a storm and wiped out the entire building. A place built to preserve Confederate history, gone in one unexpected swipe. And what's wild, this barely made headlines. No major news cycles, no national coverage, just quietly swept underneath the rug, like it never happened. I'm pretty sure the townspeople, wherever it is, I know they know, but we all don't know. So why? Maybe because this wasn't a loss to everyone. Like everyone don't care about this, but this museum sat on land that once defended Confederate ideas, like during the Civil War. And while some called it history, others saw it as a monument to racism. Let that sink in. So do you think it was just a storm? Or do you believe, like many say, that this was Mother Nature? I agree, is doing what should have been done a long time ago. Wipe this shit off the map. Okay, what y'all think? I think I got some pictures too. Here they go.
I usually mind my business, y'all, but I know y'all been seeing how all these Confederate and white supremacist shit been burned to the ground, trees falling on that shit. y'all karma just getting started. Who would have ever thought in the same week the largest plantation and a museum, they was actually trying to build a museum? Like, y'all really be proud of the evil ass shit y'all be doing to people? Y'all bold enough to build a museum? Like, hey, we are proud we enslaved your people and buck broke your men and we ate y'all and put y'all up in smokehouses. We are so proud of this. Yeah, we're the superior race. We stole everything. We rewrote your history. Like, what kind of pieces of shit are y'all? Like, I'll never understand. But like I said, hey, the universe is doing what it's doing. In 1 week, 2 big major white supremacy monuments destroyed. And not by our hand, by the hand of the Most High, the Almighty. Like, imagine the natural earth rejecting how evil white supremacies are. Like, y'all's whole history, everything y'all stand for is just pure hatred and evil. Now imagine the actual earth fighting against you. Oh. Like, black people ain't even have to do nothing. The earth is fighting for us. Mother Earth. We love you, Mother Earth. I can't imagine a natural habitat literally rejecting you, your ideologies, these monuments of wickedness that y'all have propped up are being destroyed. Something to think about, man. Seems like you guys' time is just up.
So let me get this straight. First, it was the Nottoway plantation that burned to the motherfucking ground, right? And so everybody's saying that's the work of the ancestors. Okay, cool. But now, a Confederate museum in North Carolina just got destroyed by a big ass tree that's been around since the 1800s. Interesting. I think, like, the movie Sinners started a different type of awareness within our people that made us start to acknowledge our ancestors a little bit more than usual. But it's not just that. It's a new shift going on, and the ancestors is tired because they tired of America. They still fucking with their descendants, okay? And I just feel like it's just getting started, baby. This is just the beginning. It's going to be more historical artifacts that was built on the backs and blood, sweat, and tears of African-American slaves that's going to get fucked up this year. And the biggest lie is the fact that they wanted us to believe racism is over. You know, we're in a new day and age. Ain't none of that happening anymore. But that situation with that lady, Shiloh Hendricks, getting all that money for calling a little child the N-word, I feel like that woke something up in the ancestors, in the spirit realm. That enough is a fucking enough, okay? And I'm here for a bitch. I can only imagine what it feels like to work hard as hell for years and years, don't get paid, and then
get treated badly as well. You can at least treat them nice if you're going to make them work for fucking free and shit. And now you want to be brutal. You want it to be evil. And this is why they want you to think that honoring your ancestors is demonic work. All the while, they want us to honor their ancestors. That's why those dead presidents is on money and motherfuckers worship money. Okay? Yeah. Now, I don't think this is a fucking coincidence. First, the biggest plantation in the South burns down. Now, a Confederate museum. Okay.
Well. Looks like the let's see, the aliens. No, not the aliens. The falling angels. Yeah. Yes, our ancestors. They're here. They've been here, but they're definitely the fuck turned up right now on y'all. The museum building at Fort Branch, North Carolina. Confederate earthworks. That piece of shit has been knocked the fuck down, and the ancestors are activated, baby. The spirit is finna knock down all that shit. Y'all about to see, and if your ass ain't woke, you about to be woke. Hey, everybody.
And when you hear me, oh baby, won't you I got this in my daddy said that.
Please tell me y'all seen that Confederate Museum that was destroyed by a tree. All that hatred they had up in that museum. I'm talking about Confederate flags and basically Confederate things everywhere. But guess what God did? God destroyed it with a big tree. I'm talking about a big tree. Destroyed the whole museum. It looked like God took his hand, put it on top of that building like this, and crushed it all up until it looked like a soda can crumbled up in somebody's hand. God not playing with y'all, bro. The Most High God of Israel is not playing with y'all no more. I don't know what y'all don't get. The Most High God is not playing with y'all. All that hate that y'all have to give, coming right back to y'all 10 times fold. I hope you know that.
As a collective, Black people said we're resting. We're not joining this fight anymore. We chilling. And our ancestors said, don't worry, we got it. I'm loving this for us right now.
So yes, guys, when this place actually got destroyed, they delayed to publicize the incident until they got all their artifacts because they didn't want them to be stolen. So they had to safely relocate them to prevent potential theft. While the museum's contents were insured, officials have stated that the coverage is insufficient to cover reconstruction costs. The society is now seeking public donations to aid in building the museum. This incident, as you've seen on the videos that I've stitched. It has sparked varied reactions on social media from different people that are actually reacting on what happened. And I was looking as to why, maybe, trying to understand as to why Black Americans are like, yes, this is actually our ancestor answering to you. This is our ancestors fighting for us. You remember, after the elections, most Black Americans promised that, really, the 92% and the 82% of, Black women and Black men, they decided that they are not going to be there on the streets marching. This new administration and so many things that has been done, the policies that have been put there, there's so many of them that give Black Americans any reasons to be out there on the streets marching. But they decided this time, we are just going to have a silent fight. We're not going to be there on the streets because we don't want to be met with police brutality. We don't want to be met with arrest. We don't want to be, unalived by police, because every time that Black Americans are there, like, protesting, this thing is ended up being labeled as a riot, and the police want to give reasons to justify as why they were hurting people on the protest, because they're like, these people are rioting, they were not protesting, which we all know it's a lie. Because you see how marches that have been happening, or the protests that have been happening after the election, there was no police violence, there was no police brutality. Some didn't even have police on the ground. This is because Black Americans didn't show up, and this tells us a lot more, than we need to be told, because their actions are way louder than their words. So reason as to why some Black Americans are like, it's good this place is normal. Role during the Civil War, Fort Branch was built by the Confederate Army in 1862 to defend the Roanoke River. It was manned by Confederate troops, and its purpose was to protect supply lines and deter Union advances in eastern North Carolina. Slavery and labor. Enslaved labor was used in the construction of Fort Branch, as was common for many Confederate fortifications. Enslaved African Americans who were forced to dig trenches, build fortifications, and provide support under harsh and dangerous conditions. These laborers were not compensated and often worked under brutal supervision with no rights or recognition. So most of you might be asking, why is this? Why are most people celebrating about the destruction of this place? And when people are saying, like, this place never acknowledged the whole history of this place, they just want to give history or show history that actually favors their narrative as to what they have done in so many other places, like the Northway plantation, and people are like, thanks God this place is gone. Although African Americans did not serve in the Confederate Army except in extreme rare coerced or unarmed roles, Black Union soldiers were actively fighting against the Confederacy. Fort Branch, being a Confederate outpost, stood in direct opposition to their efforts to end slavery and preserve the Union. Can you imagine if they have to be out there fighting, and they're fighting unarmed? It's so crazy, guys. And it's sad every time that we go through such history and people want to come on social media, especially the Caucasian people, and tell, like, Black people should move on from the past and they're not like their ancestors. And when we have such place still existing, such place that want to erase the history of what happened, because one thing, when this history is not talked about, there is a way that this history can be repeated. And the reason as to why Black Americans most are, always talking about the past history is to make sure that this history is not repeated. It's not like they don't want to move on from the past. It's just to make sure that this generation that we have here and the next generation to come, that will not face the history that the Black Americans' ancestors faced back in the days, and most people want to come here and tell Black Americans to move on. They cannot move on, because still today we can say that slavery is not there, but systematic racism and so many other things that's happening to the Black Americans in the United States of America. And you all want to come out here and tell them to move on from the past and, live in the present. It cannot happen because it's actually the past that has built the present that they now have. Because if the past does not matter, systematic racism should not be there, police brutality should not be there, black people losing jobs, 106,000 black women losing their jobs in April, 1 month alone, and being the biggest demographic to lose job in this year and in the month of April tells us a lot. And this is why you cannot keep on telling Black Americans to move on from the past and live in the present, because their past is still haunting them with the systematic racism. The past that most of their ancestors still went through is not yet over, and most Black people are still facing these in the United States of America. You roll back on DEI because you didn't want Black Americans to be favored or get any benefits. Most of you thought that DEI was only, focusing on Black people that were not qualified, which was all a lie, because now we're looking at all these federal workers that were, let go. A big number of Black women lost their jobs through that. And it's not like they were not qualified, they were qualified. And I sit here asking myself, why was it only Black American women that had to lose jobs at such a big number? It's just crazy, guys. So another thing is post-war memory and interpretation. For many years, sites like Fort Branch primarily focused on military history, often through a Confederate lens that downplayed or omitted the role of slavery and the experiences of African Americans. The museum that was recently destroyed focused largely on Confederate artifacts and interpretation, which has been criticized in recent decades for failing to adequately address the context of slavery and the war's causes. Modern controversies and perspective. The destruction of the museum has led to a range of public reactions reflecting ongoing debates about how Confederate history is remembered and represented. For many Black Americans, Confederate monuments and sites like Fort Branch are seen as a symbol of oppression, given their association with slavery, white supremacy, and the lost cause mythology. So it's not every Black Americans that's actually celebrating these, as you know. Even like what happened with the Northway plantation. Someone like that is some of our history that is being deleted. That is some of our history that maybe will not be known in generations to come. As I said, the reason as to why they want their history to always be remembered and always being taught is to make sure that the same history is not repeated. Same things that were done to their ancestors will not be repeated in coming generations. So some Black Americans are viewing this as a symbolic justice, the destruction of building that many view as honoring an oppressive regime by a natural act like a falling tree feels like poetic or symbolic justice to some. Some are interpreting it as a sign of historic reckoning or nature reclaiming what was unjustly built. I don't know what's your take on this, guys, especially when you're a Black American watching these. Also, some are, taking this as reclaiming history, because for years, activists have pushed for more inclusive and truthful interpretations of American history, especially around slavery, the Civil War, and Reconstruction. So the Confederate of this museum is a symbol, is sometimes seen as a step toward making space for more honest and nation narrative. I don't know what's your take on this, especially if you're a Black American watching this. I would love to know what you think about this, or what you have to say about the destruction of this museum by a tree, not by people. You see, places that, Black Americans would feel like we want to go and destroy those places, just like they destroy so many Black Americans' neighborhoods, some of them being hidden under water till today. That's some of those neighborhoods like Lake Lanier are still lakes that are actually haunting people, because hundreds of lives were lost there because they decided to go and clean or demolish the whole neighborhood, burning everything and turning this place into fires. Now, Black Americans are not going out there destroying these places that they feel, this is not their history, this is not what should be there. You should be just of what happened here. You should tell the history as it's supposed to be. But nature is doing its thing. Let me know what your thoughts are on the comment section. Thank you so much for watching up to this part, and until the next episode, bye.